Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be replacing the drive shaft in this BMW R1200RT. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this together. We're going to take the whole rear drive and everything, swing that down. We're going to pull the drive shaft out. We're going to inspect the U-joints in there kind of for notchiness and see how those feel. We'll compare it to a new one. And then obviously we'll kind of do a general inspection of everything along the way. So I guess the reason we're replacing the drive shaft, the customer just kind of wanted to do it as preventative maintenance, which is, I mean, a relatively good idea. These things are a little pricey, but if one of these fails while riding, it's going to be bad news, especially if you don't catch it. These things, I just did a video a couple weeks ago about a customer who kind of felt, I'll have that video linked below. Customer kind of felt like a vibration in his foot peg and, you know, thought something wasn't right. He brought it in and his drive shaft was like on the edge of failure. So this guy just kind of wanted his replaced preventatively, because if the drive shaft does fail while you're going down the road and it like totally comes loose, it can lock up the rear wheel and you can squeeze your clutch in or do, you know, it's not going to matter. Your rear wheel is just going to lock up and hopefully you can control it, but you know, these bikes are prone to failure, so we're just going to be diving into this together and getting it done. So let's get to it. The first thing we're going to do is remove the exhaust here. So this customer has a aftermarket Remus, just an aftermarket Remus slip-on exhaust. So assuming you guys have the stock exhaust at home, you're just going to undo this top bolt up here. On this bike, it's a 6mm Allen, but if it's a OEM exhaust, it's going to be like a T40 Torx, and this has a 13mm nut on the back side. So we'll get that out of there, and then undo the front clamp up here, which is a 13mm socket. So some of the other exhausts, this might also be a T40, the same as the rear mount. So we'll go ahead, get that undone. We just need to get it loose. Can slide it right down there. And then we'll just grab the whole exhaust and just slip it off. We will then get our rear wheel out of here. So the rear wheel is going to be a T50 Torx, and we'll have to just drop the bike into gear to hold the rear wheel. So go ahead and loosen up all 5 of these T50 Torx. And then we can remove our rear brake caliper. So removing our rear brake caliper, we're going to use a T40 Torx. We'll go ahead and loosen up both these bolts. Also noting that on some models, these bolts are going to be different lengths, and you have to be very cautious on what hole or what bolt goes into what hole. And then with a T30 Torx, right here, we will remove our wheel speed sensor. So we'll go and get that out of there. And then you can just kind of push this on out. Really easy. Just kind of goes like that. We'll then unclip our wheel speed sensor wire and then just pull our whole brake caliper out. And now is a really good time to just inspect your brake pads. And now moving over to our rear drive, underneath the rear drive with a T45 Torx, you can remove the rear drive drain. And the oil coming out of here looks pretty much brand new. I think the customer changed his own oils. Then we can undo our rear drive fill and just kind of set that aside with the drain plug. With a T50 Torx, the same one we used on the rear wheel, we can loosen up the, I'm going to call it the rear drive lever bolt. So get this out of here, should come off relatively easy. And then once the bolt kind of once we run out of threads, we can pick up on the rear drive and just pull the bolt straight out. So kind of just pick up on the rear drive and just like that. Keep the clip on the bolt, set that aside. We're going to push down, and there's these little tangs that have to disengage from the swing arm. Once we got those disengaged, I'm going to reach in with my finger, pick up on the rear drive shaft, and that'll release it from the rear drive, and we'll just swing it down like that. With a T25 Torx, we will remove this plastic fairing piece here. It's very easy. It's just 3 T25 Torx. So one there, one in here by the cylinder head, and then one right here. And then we can just remove it, pull it straight off. Once we get that cover off, that's going to expose our front swing arm boot. We're going to want to inspect this for any rips or tears. If yours has any rips or tears, I'm going to have a new one linked right over here and down below. So there's a zip tie holding that on. We're going to cut the zip tie and then peel the boot back with our finger. And then in there, you will see the drive shaft. And then we'll just use a screwdriver or a pry bar to just pop this drive shaft off the transmission output spline. And there's a little clip that holds this drive shaft onto the splines here, and you'll just have to use a pry bar to get it off. And that's literally the exact procedure that BMW recommends. So once you get that off, we're going to head to the back and we'll pull the rear drive shaft out. So now that we've disengaged it from the splines, you'll just pull this drive shaft straight out and make sure not to damage your boot here. You can see this drive shaft was nice and lubed up. So someone lubed it, might have been me, I don't know. But the splines and everything look nice and greased up. And honestly, the U-joints don't feel all that bad. This bike, keep in mind, has 40,000 miles on it. So this feels really nice yet, and so does that. Okay, there's one little notch in there. So towards the center, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but like right there, there's a little bit of a notch. So this U-joint is probably just starting to fail, but I know a lot of people always say, why don't you just replace the U-joint? Well, these drive shafts are non-serviceable. So unlike the older motorcycles, like the Airheads, which you could service the U-joints, these are not serviceable. So you just have to replace the whole shaft. But you can kind of see that little notch there on camera. We will now get ready to reinstall our new drive shaft. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this special spline lube, and we're going to just put this lube all over the splines in there. I'll have this lube linked below, and we're going to do that on both sides. We can then insert our drive shaft up our swing arm with the larger diameter side first. And we're just going to go push it all the way up in there. And these newer models, like newer than probably like the oil heads, you know, these drive shafts do not require like phasing or for any of that stuff. So you can just put this in and there's no like particular orientation that the U-joints need to be at. You just slide it right up in there. So we got that up there. And then coming around up front, we're going to pull the boot back and try and get we're just going to kind of move around with our right hand, picking up on the drive shaft and turning, trying to get these splines to mate with the output splines on the transmission. So just kind of have to fiddle with it until we get it to drop on. And then you can just pop the drive shaft on over that clip with the palm of your hand and then pull the drive shaft in and out, and you can see that it's seated on that groove. We will then swing our rear drive up and engage it on the drive shaft splines. So we're going to kind of want to tilt this U-joint downward, swing this up until we feel it engage on the splines down here. And then we'll get our hand out of there and just slip it right on. So you'll feel it hit and then I'm just kind of turning the brake rotor here, and then I'll just wiggle it back and forth until it drops right on. Just like that. So now you can see that it dropped right on. I'm just going to pick this up and set our bolt through the hole just so it stays for now. And then we can go and drape our rear brake caliper. We'll put that, kind of just slide it in the rotor there. So that will just kind of drop down, and then we'll just thread our wheel speed sensor around back like that, and then with our, just kind of reach around and we can just drop it right in the little bore. And then our screws, like I said, some models, these screws are different. This model, both screws are the same. Those go through like that. And then the torque on these is 24 Newton meters. And then the torque on that T30 holding the wheel speed sensor in is 8 Newton meters. So we'll go and get those three tightened up. Also, one other thing I should mention is the way you can help me out, kind of support my channel and keep this channel going, keep videos like this pumping out, is you can just like this video, drop a comment down below, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and then we'll reinstall this T30 Torx that holds the rear wheel speed sensor in. We can then secure the larger T50 bolt that holds the rear drive in. The torque on this is 56 Newton meters. And another thing I should mention, if you guys want to kind of show your appreciation, hopefully this saved you a couple dollars at the dealership, but I do have a super thanks button. That's just where you can just say, hey, thanks, here's $5 or whatever. All that stuff really helps me out, keeps me motivated, and keeps videos like this coming. So then we can snap our wheel speed sensor wire into the little clip there that we have aligned or indexed onto this peg. Get that done, make sure this clips in if you took that out, and make sure this is routing nice and neat and not rubbing anywhere. But please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and just genuinely thank you for watching my videos. It really kind of keeps me motivated. I never expected my channel to be as big as it is right now. So thank you very much, and let's get back to it. And then our rubber boots, like I said, there's these teeth there that drop down over the swing arm ledge. We'll just hit that with a little bit of WD-40 to help those slide in, and then we'll just push on it and you'll hear it click. So boom, drops right in, and then it's secured nicely. And then our front boot right here, what we're going to do is just slip it over this. It should fall over that pretty easily, and then just use a zip tie. I think these zip ties are 13-inch zip ties, more than sufficient to make it around the boot there. And then we'll reinstall the rear drive drain plug. So that little O-ring that's around the drain plug, that's how these plugs seal. So you're going to want to inspect that O-ring for any rips or tears, otherwise that'll definitely leak. And then when you're installing it, just be really careful not to pinch the O-ring. And then we'll get this torqued down. I believe this is 20 Newton meters down here, and then 25 Newton meters up there. And then we're going to fill our rear drive. We're going to fill our rear drive up with oil. The rear drive oil capacity is 180 cc's or 180 milliliters of oil. So we'll fill that up, and then like I said, we'll tighten up our rear drive fill plug to 25 Newton meters. And then we'll tighten up our rear drive oil fill with a new crush gasket. And then we can reinstall our little fairing cover here. And then one of these bolts has a shoulder on it, and that's going to be this bolt right here. Tighten those up, get these other two in, and we will move on to installing our exhaust and our rear wheel. In reinstalling the rear wheel and the exhaust is easy, just like we took it off. We're just going to lift the rear wheel up and get it lined up. And then the torque on the rear wheel is going to be 60 Newton meters. And then reinstalling our exhaust. This procedure is going to be a little bit different if you have a standard exhaust, but for the most part, it's going to be the same. On the standard exhaust, I believe there's no nut or anything on the backside, but there's still this little tab on top, goes right through. I mean, honestly, if you've made it this far, I'm very confident that you'll be able to finish the rest of this procedure. So, slap that through there. I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest, of aftermarket exhausts. It kind of makes these bikes run a little funny, in my opinion. And I'm kind of a believer that BMW has a lot of money in R&D in this exhaust, and trying to get the right power levels at every RPM and just making really usable torque. So I don't know. I kind of like it quiet. Maybe that's the old man in me. And then our muffler clamp. This one is a 13 millimeter. Thank you for watching my video. If this video helped you out, hit that like button. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get 100,000 subscribers. I got way more subscribers than I ever anticipated myself getting. And honestly, I can't thank you guys enough, because without you guys, it wouldn't be possible. So have a safe ride. Thanks a lot, guys.